Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, and welcome to Night School. That's right. Every night here, Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School. It's not a podcast. It's not a TV show. It is a global classroom. We come in here and we break ideas down. We go into deep dives about the biggest issues that we're dealing with in culture and politics. We talk about the hottest issues today, and we talk about the long-standing debates that have been going on throughout our time on this planet. We break it all down. We do it for you. And tonight is no different. I want to start off though with some shout outs because this channel is supported and this program is supported by you. And so let me give a shout out to some people who are always here, present and accounted for. Bob Vaughn is the first one in. Of course, he is using them lyrics that he got from Jazz LP, Dallas's finest. Shout out to you for being here. Of course, ML McKinney is in the building as well. Rosability is present. That's right. It's night school, so people always check in present. We got Karen D who's here, Olivia Garnett, Kimmy Aboyade Acosta. Yo, by the way, I just got to point out, Jazz said I'm present, but I'm sneaking on while I'm in Bible study. That's love right there. Barazita Brujita is here. Love Jones is here. Seth McKeever, welcome, family. Haven't seen you, at least not shouted you out. Meg L, so good to see you, one of our most generous members. Love Jones is here. Andrea Darby is a newbie. Welcome. You just became a channel member. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Mar, thanks for joining in a second time. Adrienne, we appreciate you as well. Omega, one of the OGs of the room is here. D. Marie is here. Oh my God, Brooklyn's royalties in the building. April Silver and Robin Walker Murphy, who got her own writing. Y'all need to check out Robin Walker Murphy's writing, yo. It's pretty fly. Anyway, y'all, let's get started because the whole point of starting early is to get y'all home or at least in bed at a good time. It has been a heck of a campaign run on the left. For more than a year now, candidates, people have been doing their best to make a case for why Joe Biden should be the president, and others are making a case for why Joe Biden should not even be the nominee for the presidency on the left, right? So you have the mainstream Democrats who say, look, we need Joe Biden. He is the heir apparent. He is the incumbent. He is the standard bearer of the party. We need Joe Biden to be president. We ain't got no choice whether you like him or not. But then there are other people who make a different argument. They make a different case, and they say that we need a left-wing alternative. We need a third-party alternative. We need somebody else to be here. And RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is one of those people. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., of course, is the son of RFK, or Bobby Kennedy, the son of former President John F. Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy, of course, was a freedom fighter in his own right. He was someone who dealt with poverty. In fact, America's war on poverty in the early 1960s is a product of Robert F. Kennedy Sr. So when we see R.F. Kennedy Jr., you're going to raise your eyes. You're going to ask some questions. You're going to say, well, is he potentially the right person to lead a left-wing push? Now, Democrats have been running scared of Joe Biden. They run scared of primary elections whenever there's a sitting president of their party. So people said, well, Robert Kennedy, yeah, you might be an interesting candidate. You might be an interesting left-wing candidate, interesting grassroots candidate, an interesting dark horse candidate, but it's not your time. RFK Jr. decided he was going to run anyway in the primary, which, by the way, I don't see as a bad strategy. I like the idea of insurgent candidates trying to have a primary challenge to the president, not just running Green Party, not just running People's Party, not just running Communist Party, not just running Socialist Party, do all of that, but also force Joe Biden to campaign for his own nomination as president, force him to the left in his own party. That's what F. Kennedy Jr. started to do. Of course, he didn't gain much traction, and we'll talk about why. And so he started going third party. And now he's a third party candidate with some money. He got a billionaire VP. But now Mr. Kennedy has moved into another domain. Mr. Kennedy has decided that he is going to make a push for Black voters. He's made a decision that he is going to fight for the grassroots Black base. He's going to fight for those of us who care about Black nationalist issues. He said, I got something for you. And what does he have for us? Reparations. Bobby Kennedy Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr. comes out and says that he is going to give $5 billion to Black farmers. Now, there was a moment back in the past when Robert Kennedy Jr. was saying he didn't support reparations. He said it's obviously illegal or unconstitutional, excuse me. He said it's obviously unconstitutional. But now he's saying, well, $5 billion for Black farmers. He said this on his own podcast. I want you to take a listen to this. All right, we're going to listen to this and check him out and see what he said. I'm going to pull it up from his own podcast. So I want people to say this is AI, this is false advertising. This is him on his own channel. Listen to this.
That $5 billion is not money that is an entitlement. It's money that was a loan that Black farmers were entitled to way back then and was stolen from them.
Courts already.
So he says $5 billion. It's not a loan. It's not a favor. It's what's owed to him. It's owed to us, excuse me. Oh, he's right. He's not wrong. We are owed that. So the strategy, the tactic, the argument is legitimate. Yes, Mr. Kennedy, you should absolutely be advocating for reparations, as should Joe Biden. It's as one of the readers here, a viewer said, it's a brilliant strategy. Why is it a brilliant strategy? Well, because he knows we're going to pay attention. He knows we're going to pay attention. And it stands in contrast to these other folks. Joe Biden refuses to take a principled stance on reparations. Joe Biden refuses to talk about reparations. Joe Biden in the 70s said that reparations was wrong. He said that Black people weren't owed reparations. He said, should I as a white man have to pay Black people money for something that happened before I was born? This is Joe Biden talking. And over time, he's learned to be more politically correct about it. Joe Biden has learned to say, well, we'll study it, we'll investigate it, we'll pick it apart. We'll have a congressional vote, not on reparations, but on a study. So we're going to vote to study the possibility of whether we should have reparations. This is where Joe Biden is. This is where the mainstream of the party. Obama wouldn't touch it. So to this extent, RFK Jr. is doing the right thing. Here's the problem. For one, he's not a true left-wing candidate. You don't run a left-wing candidacy or left-wing campaign with a billionaire VP. You don't run a left-wing campaign that is progressive except for Palestine. RF Kennedy Jr. has been speaking AIPAC talking points this entire election cycle, even before October 7th, but absolutely after October 7th. He has taken a ridiculously unprincipled stance, a ridiculously and absurdly non-progressive stance on Palestine. So in light of that, him coming up with reparations is encouraging, but I got to look at it sideways because there's very little about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that seems like a real insurgent radical campaign. This is not Cornel West's campaign. This is not Jill Stein's campaign. This ain't the Stein campaign, the West campaign, the Cruz campaign, the De La Cruz campaign. This ain't none of that. This is to me, a cynical attempt to get the attention of the Black grassroots. Now, let's be clear, because I think it is important to talk about Black farmers. Black farmers are disenfranchised. Between 1920 and 1997, Black farmers were forced to give up their land and the income from that land that today would be worth $326 billion. This is the reality of Black farmers. The few farmers that are there today, they live off of credit. The credit keeps their businesses afloat. Lots of people deal with this, but they have to borrow against the harvest that's going to come in to pay for their equipment, to pay for animals, livestock, to pay for seeds and supplies, to pay the rent on their land, the mortgage on their land. They have to get credit to make ends meet when the price of commodities fluctuates, or there's a weather disaster, a natural disaster that causes crop failure. And at the same time, they have to deal with all this stuff. Credit is the centerpiece of Black farmer life. Black farmers get denied loans more than everybody else. They get denied federal programs more than anybody else. I'm gonna tell you how bad it is. In 1920, Black farmers operated about 1/7 of all farm operations in the United States. My math ain't that good. Let me just do something real quick. That's 14% of farm operations. Now, Black people make up about 13% of the population, so that made sense. We were proportionately representative of the farmers in America, right? About 13, 14%, 1/7. Now, Black farmers make up less than 2% of all farmers everywhere in the United States. This is a huge problem, but it's part of a bigger problem of the wealth gap between Black folk and white folk, right? Losing land isn't just losing a job, it's losing wealth, it's losing transferable wealth, it's losing intergenerational wealth, it's losing access to capital. The racial wealth gap is partially grounded in not having access to land. Black households right now make about 7 cents on the dollar in net worth compared to white households. 7 cents on the dollar. But again, wealth is not the same as income. Yes, we make less money in terms of our salary than white people, but we also have less property. We have less access to capital. We have less in the bank. All of these things. And so Black folk have had to long deal, and we'll do a whole deep dive on this one day, but when there was a depression, there was something called the Agricultural Adjustment Act of 1933, which gave farmers subsidies in exchange for limiting production of certain crops, right? But the Department of Agriculture gave that to white farmers, or white landowners, excuse me, to keep government benefit payments from the, basically, they don't want to pass it to Black farmers who are sharecropping. So what they did was they let white landowners have it and not Black ones, right? At the same time, the Federal Emergency Relief Administration granted a disproportionate amount of the funding to white farmers, which left Black farmers super vulnerable. And then in 1937, Roosevelt, the great New Deal, the great, social safety net president, created the FSA, which is the Farm Security Administration. It's part of the New Deal programs, but Black farmers got fewer rehabilitation loans, fewer tenant purchase loans through the agency. And so there's a long history of Black farmers being discriminated against. The Pickford lawsuits, if you don't know about them, in the 1980s and 1990s through the 20s and the aughts, these were class action lawsuits that were based on the USDA's discrimination against Black farmers. And we could go on and on and on. Black farmers deserve reparations. Let's be clear about that. And Black farmers also deserve far more than the $5 billion, a lot more than the $5 billion that Robert F. Kennedy is talking about, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is talking about. That's also a fact. But at least he's starting the conversation. But I just need y'all to be clear that although he is starting a conversation about reparations, even though he is taking the right position on this issue. One, it ain't enough, but two, I don't believe him. He needs more people. I just don't buy it coming from him. Anyway, that's it. So y'all make your minds up. Keep the reparations conversation going. I hope he continues to force the reparations conversation onto Joe Biden. I hope he amplifies the conversation among all the other third-party candidates. I don't believe Robert F. Kennedy's running a left-wing campaign, so I'm not going to call him the other left-wing candidates, but he's certainly running a third-party candidacy. I hope he keeps it going. But don't be seduced or tricked, especially us Black people. Don't be seduced and tricked into thinking that because this man is asking us for Black stuff, or he's advocating for Black stuff, that he's mentioning some Black stuff. Don't use that to ignore the fact that he basically is still invested in American imperialism. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is still invested in Zionism. He's still invested in sustaining the same system, the same status quo that has us where we are right now. So we ain't going to have no parts of that. Anyway, y'all, I got much more coming up. When we come back, we're going to talk about 3 states in Europe who have been advocating fiercely for a Palestinian state. We're going to talk about what that might mean for the rest of us. Stay right here.
Right? You do it. You make her happy, so you'll be all right.
And happy wife normally is about happy life for me.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It ain't about her. It's about you.
So Van says that because Jewish people showed up for Black Americans during the Civil Rights era, he now feels compelled to stand with them now. Let me be clear.
What's the white liberal ideology I'm following?
I'm not saying you.
No, that's what you said. So I'm saying which one?
No one is free until we are all free. There is no room for any injustice. All right, family, welcome back to Night School. A whole lot going on tonight on the global front. In particular, the war on Palestine continues. The war on Gaza in particular continues. But in the midst of that, there have been some positive signs. Today, 3 European nations have announced that they will be acknowledging, that they will be formally recognizing Palestine as a state. This is no small thing. The leaders of Norway, Ireland, and Spain, have stood up and said that they are going to recognize Palestine as a state. And the reason they give is they want to do it for the, quote, sake of peace in the Middle East. Norway's Prime Minister, Jonas Gahr Støre, said on Wednesday that a 2-state solution was in Israel's best interest, and the recognition of Palestinian statehood would come as of May 28th. He said, there cannot be peace in the Middle East if there's no recognition. Now, Norway is a particularly interesting case. Of course, if you don't know, Oslo, which is where he gave his speech at, is in Norway. Oslo is not just the place from which the head of state speaks, it's also the home or the site of the Oslo Accords. 1993 was perhaps the most heralded, the most celebrated, also the most dishonest and fundamentally flawed attempt at a 2-state solution that we've seen in modern Middle East history, modern global history. And so the fact that the leader of Norway is saying, if we still want to keep a 2-state solution together, we got to acknowledge Palestine as a state. Ireland's prime minister basically said the same thing. He was in Dublin, and in Madrid, Pedro Sanchez said the same thing. So Simon Harris, the prime minister of Ireland, Pedro Sanchez, the prime minister of Madrid, said the same. Prime minister of Spain, and he said from Madrid the same thing. There must be a solution that is different. There must be an approach that's different. Prime Minister from Ireland, Prime Minister Harris, said, I'm confident that further countries will join us in taking this important step in the coming weeks. And he's not wrong. We've already heard that the leaders of, what was it? Was it Malta? Who was it? Was it Malta? Yeah, it was Malta and Slovenia have already said they're going to do the same thing. Countries around the world are beginning to stand up and speak up and acknowledge Palestine as a state. This is not merely a symbolic gesture. This is not simply something that's done for political symbolism. This will have a reverberating impact potentially, and I'll tell you why. Number one, it forces nations like the United States and France, powerful nations, Germany, to explain why they're not doing it, to explain why the United States, for example, continues to veto this attempt at the UN Security Council or the UN General Assembly. This is the question that we must ask. It's also important because it begins to help normalize relations at the same time that it begins to isolate Israel for its actions. No country should be isolated because of who they are. Be clear. Israel should not be isolated because it's a Jewish state. Israel should not be isolated, or Israel should not be isolated because they're Jewish. Israel should not be isolated because they're Israel. Israel should be isolated because of their consistent contravention of international law. And it's not just Israel. I'd say that about Saudi Arabia also needs to be isolated. Iran, China, Russia, the United States. We all have done enough dirt maybe to get isolated. We have to ask those questions. But at this moment, with 35,000 plus people killed since October, 78,000 people wounded since October, we have to do something to stop this. And perhaps the hope of a Palestinian state is what people want to see. We see Turkey approved it. Turkey said, look, this is a great decision. Jordan said, this is a great decision. Saudi Arabia, who's been trying to normalize relations with Israel, said, this is a great decision. France said, not yet. France is budging. France said, not yet. What they said is this isn't the right moment, but that the recognition was not, quote, taboo. That means France is coming around. Germany going to be last. US going to be kicking and screaming last too. But everybody else is doing something else. The White House, for its credit, didn't do what they did with the ICC decision the other day. They didn't say, oh, this is evil, everybody's going to hell. What they said is every country can make its own decision on whether to recognize a Palestinian state. But they made it very clear that ain't Joe Biden's position. This is still a big deal. Now, Israel, in case you were wondering, did exactly what Israel does when they are the recipients of news they don't like. They launch out on the offensive. Israel immediately announced that it was recalling its envoys to Ireland and Norway for, quote, urgent consultations. That's tough talk. Foreign Minister Israel Katz said in a statement, today I am sending a sharp message to Ireland and Norway. Israel will not go over this in silence. Yo, they be mad. They get big mad. The Israeli Foreign Ministry had earlier posted a video message addressed to Ireland on X saying, recognizing a Palestinian state risks turning you into a pawn in the hands of Iran and Hamas, adding the move would, quote, only fuel extremism and instability. Israel also said that plans for Palestinian recognition constitute a, quote, prize for terrorism. So basically they're saying you're rewarding Hamas for October 7th by giving them a state. This is the paternalism. This is the imperial colonial mindset. We're not going to reward you with a state. People have a right to self-determination. It's not up to you to decide who gets self-determination, Israel. It is not up to you to decide who gets a state or not. It's not up to you to decide who gets to be free or not. The very idea that we don't want to reward you for your bad behavior reeks of paternalism. It's literally something you say to a child. The fact of the matter is, if there were a Palestinian state that were free and contiguous and had the capacity for self-determination, which all Palestinian folk do, but it gets undermined by Israeli intervention, by American intervention, by global intervention. If Palestinian people had a single day of self-determination in practice, we wouldn't see what we've been seeing for the last 100 years. But Israel is trying to threaten everybody. They're creating a context where they say basically any country that supports this move is supporting terrorism. So now all of a sudden, if you support Palestinian freedom, you support terrorism, conflating Palestinians with terrorists and Palestinian freedom with freedom to engage in terrorism. It's nasty work, man. It's nasty work what they're doing. But it's also setting people up to be security threats. These are like soft threats, man. Soft threats against the nations, man. It's bad. It's nasty. It's ugly. But it is what it is. It is what it is. What we have to do right now is amplify those voices. The 3 European nations that have recognized Palestinian statehood have to be supported by a chorus of international voices that say the same thing. And by saying the same thing, it becomes normal and natural to make moves like this. This is what Omega here is talking about. She says the response to the ICC told us something huge. That's right. The global community is coming around. The global community hears and sees what's happening. The global community recognizes that Israel is operating with impunity, that Israel is violating international law, that Israel is undermining peace and safety and democracy in the Middle East. Israel ain't the only entity doing that, but Israel's the most powerful one, and Israel's the one that we can rein in because we fund it, we support it, we protect it, we enable it. And we must stop. We must move towards something else. We must move toward something else. Speaking of moving on towards something else, when we come back, we're going to talk about some other news, some pop culture news a little bit, and some sports news, all of which are tied up in all the heavy stuff. So it's a little bit of heavy stuff, but it's tied up in some light stuff. I'm not trying to be cryptic or mysterious. I'm talking about the WNBA. I'm talking about Caitlin Clark, because Jamel Hill, the brilliant writer and critic, has been catching hell for her comments on Caitlin Clark. We're going to talk about what it all means. Also, later on in the show, Apple Music listed its top 100 albums of all time. I have never seen a list so bad. So we got that. We got Caitlin Clark, and we got some unfortunate Diddy news coming up. Stay right here. We'll be back with more of Night School.
Right? You make her happy, so you'll be all right.
And happy wife normally is about happy life for me.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It ain't about her, it's about you.
So Van says that because Jewish people showed up for Black Americans during the Civil Rights era, he now feels compelled to stand with them now. Let me be clear.
What's the white liberal ideology I'm following?
I'm not saying you.
No, that's what you said. So I'm saying, which one?
No
one is free until we are all free. There is no room for any injustice.
Peace, family. Welcome back to Night School. What a time to be a basketball fan. When you watch the NBA playoffs right now, you get to see a new champion crown. Somebody gonna win it. It's gonna be either Indiana or Boston in the East. It's gonna be either Dallas or Minnesota in the West. And then we got to see who's going to be the ultimate NBA champion. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time in the NBA. But it's an even more exciting time in the WNBA. Everybody's been paying attention to college basketball this year, women's college basketball, and that excitement for women's college basketball, which culminated in an extraordinary NCAA finals victory of the University of South Carolina over Iowa State. That has translated into a very exciting young WNBA season. And the reason for it, y'all can get mad, but the reason WNBA is so exciting right now is because a new crop of talent has come in, and that new crop of talent has been led by Caitlin Clark. Now, don't get me wrong. Angel Reese has played well. Other folk have played well. The WNBA has long had it's a stable of extraordinary athletes, a roster of extraordinary internationally gifted talent. The WNBA has never been short on talent, but now the world is watching. And a big reason why the world is watching is because of this woman you see on your screen right now, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is the all-time leader in points scored, 3-point scored, etc. Many records in college basketball. And she attracted a group of people who don't normally watch basketball, and certainly don't watch college basketball, and certainly don't watch women's college basketball, She drew them into watching. And many of those people are now turning to the WNBA. And there's been a lot of conversation about what this means. Some people have talked about the extraordinary attention that she's brought, and that the attention she's brought, the hoopla that she carries with her, has also brought resources. That you're going to see some private jets now. You're going to see better transportation. You're going to see bigger TV contracts. You're going to see more money because people are watching Caitlin Clark. Now, you might come for Caitlin Clark, but you're going to stay for Aaliyah Boston. You're going to stay for Angel Reese, right? You're going to stay and recognize that the WNBA has incredibly talented athletes. Caitlin Clark is the first good basketball player there. And right now, at this moment, she's not the best player. She's very special, but she ain't the best. Well, there's been no shortage of think pieces on this. There's been no shortage of people who have decided to talk about what it means for Caitlin Clark to be a part of the conversation. One of those people who has spoken up has been Jemele Hill. If you don't know Jemele Hill is a very famous, very popular commentator, formerly from ESPN. She is now a contributing writer for The Atlantic. She is the host of her own podcast, which is amazing. It's called Unbothered with Jemele Hill. Jemele is a cultural critic. She's a basketball and just a sports expert, and one of my favorite people to watch because she tells the truth. She's honest. She's transparent. She's knowledgeable. I'm a big Jemele Hill fan. And so she commented on a piece that was written for the LA Times. The LA Times wrote a piece that with the headline, Caitlin Clark marketing boom is celebrated, but also draws questions of race and equity. Again, not a crazy thing to say, not a crazy analysis, not a crazy question to ask. But you know, white people get in their feelings quite easy when it comes to questions of race. Once the race question pops up, white people get defensive fast. Any race talk makes them uneasy. Any conversation about race becomes a conversation about racism. And any conversation about racism makes them feel vulnerable. And so the LA Times starts with this piece, by the way. This is not about Jemele Hill right now. This is about Kevin Baxter, who wrote the piece. He says, women's basketball has never seen anything like Caitlin Clark, the sweet shooting rookie guard for the WNBA's Indiana Fever. She's Taylor Swift with a jump shot. She's Mia Hamm in a singlet, a figure so transcendent she is changing her profession. Now, let's be clear. He's not wrong. Caitlin Clark is changing the profession. And she is Taylor Swift with the jump shot to the extent that white people love her. She is a darling of white America, and she is skilled, right? I mean, 55,000 people showed up to watch her play a practice game last fall. Her last college game drew 24 million TV viewers. For context, 24 million TV viewers is 3.5 times larger than the people who watched Serena Williams' last tennis match. She got a $28 million deal with Nike that includes a signature shoe. 3 million people watched ESPN just to watch her get drafted. This is what Kevin Baxter's saying. So she is a phenom. The question isn't that. The question is why. Now, there's her extraordinary talent, to be sure. There's no doubt that Caitlin Clark is special. But there's more to it. And the more to it is about race. The more to it is about gender. The more to it is about sexuality. This is the point that Jemele Hill was making in her commentary. Jemele was asked to comment for this piece. And she said, and this is the interesting part. She said, we would all be very naive if we didn't say race and her sexuality. Let me bring this up, in fact. I want y'all to see it so y'all don't think I just be making stuff up. I want y'all to see this. Can y'all see it? I don't know if y'all can see it, but yeah, y'all gonna see it. There we go. Y'all should be able to see it now. We would be very naive if we didn't say race and her sexuality played a role in her popularity. While so many people are happy for Caitlyn's success, including the players, this has had such an enormous impact on the game. There is a part of it that is a little problematic because of what it says about the worth and the marketability of the players who are already there. Now, this shouldn't be a controversial statement. She didn't diss Caitlin Clark. She didn't say Caitlin Clark is untalented. She didn't say Caitlin Clark didn't have gifts. She didn't say any of that. She simply said Caitlin Clark is one thing, and we got to think about this other thing. But when you read the headlines, go to the New York Post, go to the Daily Mail, go to the Daily Buzz, go to Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and read what they're saying. They're all dragging Jemele Hill through the coals, raking her across the coals, as if she said something crazy, as if she said something wrong, as if she said something offensive, as if she said something racist. None of that could be further from the truth. What Jemele said was the gospel. She continues. She said, Caitlyn fits a very comfortable narrative for a lot of people in the United States. She comes from the heartland. She's an amazing talent. Amazing talent. I want y'all to hear that. She's an amazing talent. She's also a white, straight woman, right? There's not a lot of things that would make people feel uncomfortable with that person being successful. That's the point. That's the point. She's 100% right. That's the point. America loves rooting for white women. America is rooted in a kind of white supremacy and a white patriarchy that puts white men at the top of the social ladder, but makes white women positioned on pedestals. Robin Walker Murphy writes in and says, Charles Barkley made a comment tonight. He didn't name Jemele, but he said women out there are being petty. There's nothing petty about having a critique of Caitlin Clark. There's nothing petty about saying that Caitlin Clark's popularity is partly due to her race. It just is. So was Larry Bird's. Larry Bird is one of the greatest players of all time. Larry Bird, for me, is a top 10, top 12 player of all time. Larry Bird was better than all them people that said Larry Bird wasn't good. But Larry Bird's fame and popularity was also tied to the fact that Larry Bird was a white man. And the country wanted to root for a white man. And the country damn sure wanted to root for a white man playing against all them Negroes. That is simply how things go. We root for Tiger Woods in golf. Why? Because he's an underdog. Right? We love rooting for the underdog in this country. We love rooting for somebody who we don't expect to win. The Jamaican bobsled team, we rock with them. But let's be very clear. This isn't just about underdog status. This is also about a country that needs white women to succeed, that needs white men to win. And white men want white men to win. And white men also want their white women to be put on pedestals. A pedestal is not an ideal position. It's still a dehumanizing position. It's still a sexist position. It's still a patriarchal position. It's still a troublesome position. All of that is true. I'm not romanticizing the real challenges that women have faced in a patriarchal country. That is in society. That is absolutely true. But let's not deny the fact that what Jemele Hill is saying is 100% right and exact. America is rooting for Caitlin Clark because they love watching Caitlin Clark as a white woman come out there and jay them Negroes' heads off. They love watching her make a no-look pass to another white woman for a layup in the middle of Gut Bucket, Iowa. They love it. And when And when they played against LSU last year, and they framed the LSU girls, especially Angel Reese, as bad kids, as criminals, as disrespectful to the game, as people who don't play the game the right way, as brutes, and they framed the Iowa squad as being the intelligent team, the cerebral basketball players, the X's and O's basketball players. Those are racial and racialized narratives that get codified in sports. How many times we hear they play the right way? That's very often racial. Not always, but often racialized, the way people talk about it. And so Jamel is just raising a point that, yes, America wants to root for white people. They definitely want to root for a white woman against all these black women. And they damn sure want to root for a white straight woman in a league that has a lot of LGBTQ folk. It's just a fact. America wants to root for a straight white woman. That is the least controversial thing that I think Jamel Hill has ever said. She's 100% right. And yet, people want to pretend that's not the case. Look, Caitlin Clark deserves a $28 million Nike contract. Why? Because people are going to buy them sneakers. It just makes sense. Does Asia Wilson deserve a sneaker contract? Yeah, because she's so talented. She's the best player in the league. Of course she deserves it. And she got it now, partly because Caitlin is there, drawing attention to the disparity. That doesn't mean that Caitlin did her a favor. Caitlin is doing Caitlin a favor with getting that money. But the point is that race and sexuality and gender matter in this country, and they damn sure matter in sports. And we can continue to pretend that it's not the case, but it absolutely is. And it's just like that. Stay with me. We got more coming up. I got to talk to y'all about this Apple 100 Greatest Albums list, because it is the worst list ever. We'll talk about it when I come back.
Right? You make her happy, so you'll be all right.
And happy wife normally is about happy life for me.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It ain't about her, it's about you.
So Van says that because Jewish people showed up for Black Americans during the Civil Rights era, he now feels compelled to stand with them now. Let me be clear.
What's the white liberal ideology I'm following?
I'm not saying you.
No, that's what you said. So I'm saying, which one?
No
one is free until we are all free. There is no room for any injustice.
All right, family, welcome back to Night School. I'm here, your brother Marc Lamont Hill. We're talking about music now, because Apple ranked its 100 greatest albums today. Now, they've been ranking them, and they came up with number 1 today. We'll talk about it. And I generally don't like lists. I generally am not a fan of lists. And they just invite beef and controversy, or they remind you of how really bad people are at their jobs, right? Like, there's a way that when they put out the 10 greatest movies of all time, the 5 greatest, power forwards of all time, whatever the thing is, I find that there's a lot of bad stuff on these lists. Now, lists are subjective. Everybody has a right to their own list. I don't think my top 5 MCs should be pilloried, and I don't think yours should be celebrated, and vice versa. You like who you like, want what you want. But when you issue something on a platform as big as Apple, and you frame it as a kind of definitive greatest of, best of, all time, whatever list, you give it authority. And Apple's list is just, it's just trash. It's just trash, y'all. It's just trash. Let me pull this thing up. I'm going to go. I need y'all to see this. Do you see this? Do you see this? I want you to look. These are the 100 greatest albums of all time. Now, they start. I'm on the Apple site, so you can see this yourself, right? Robin Body Talk is the 100 greatest album of all time. Just from there, Hotel California Eagles, great album. Is it top 100? Absolutely. But Body Talk by Robin or Astro World by Travis Scott? You want me to believe that Astro World from Travis Scott is an album so good that only 97 albums in human history are better than Astro World by Travis Scott? That's what you want me to believe? I'm not going to go through each one. Although I'm curious to know what y'all think, right? I need to know what y'all think about this list. But I'm going to fast forward all the way to number one, because this is where I get very frustrated. The number one album they have of all time, the number one album they have of all time, is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. By the way, I gotta laugh. Abel Tesfaye said The Weeknd not even making the list shows the whole list is a joke. I just want to point out that it's no coincidence that the one Habesha person here in the classroom right now is the one person complaining that The Weeknd ain't on the list. A little stereotypical. I love you anyway, my brother. But the number one, I'm teasing too. The number one album of all time is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Look, I love The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I think it's an excellent album. But the greatest, you tell me no album in the history of the world is better than The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill? I love the album too. Robert, I swear to God, I love that album. I'll be repping for that album. Oh, is Abel not Habesha? His name is Abel. I just assumed he was. Forgive me. Let's go to number two, because I don't want to think like this is a hate thing. I don't want you to feel like I'm hating, because it's not a Lauryn Hill hate. Again, I'm a huge Lauryn Hill fan. Number two on the list is Thriller. Now, I happen to not think that Thriller is Michael Jackson's best album. I actually think Off the Wall is Michael Jackson's best album. I think Thriller gets the love, but Off the Wall is actually the one. If you go to a party, I guarantee you most people want to hear Thriller. But I don't even think Lauryn Hill would say that Miseducation is better than Thriller. Abbey Road by the Beatles, number three. I'm good with that. That's a top 5 album of all time. Although, Sgt. Pepper's up there too. Prince, Purple Rain. Amazing album. Frank Ocean, y'all. Come on. Come on. Come on. You're trying to tell me, and I know y'all blood is about to get boiled. I already know April Silver's blood is boiling looking at this. I can see her in the classroom right now getting mad. Y'all really think that Frank Ocean's album is so good that only 4 albums in the history of the world are better than Blonde? And what makes it so disrespectful, is that they put Stevie Wonder's Song in the Key of Life right after it. That's the most disrespectful part. Songs in the Key of Life. If they had put Songs in the Key of Life number 1, you wouldn't have heard a word out of me. I don't think it's number 1 album all time, but you wouldn't have heard a word out of me, because you know what? That's a reasonable choice. Songs in the Key of Life, just to give you context, has Love's in Need of Love Today. I'm not going to name all of them, just some of the big ones. Sir Duke. I Wish. Knocks Me Off My Feet. Pastime Paradise. I'm going to throw in Summer Soft, even though it wasn't a single. Isn't She Lovely? Joy Inside My Tears. black man. And it also has, for the record, If It's Magic and the piece de resistance as might be literally the greatest song ever written. As by Stevie Wonder might be the greatest song ever written. As around the sun, the earth knows she's revolving, and the rosebuds know to bloom in early May. Look, I'm gonna pull this up for y'all. I need y'all, for you kids out there that don't know this song, go listen to it, right? Look at it. As just as hate knows love's the cure, you can rest your mind assured that I'll be loving you always. As now can't reveal the mystery of tomorrow, but in passing will grow older every day. Just as all that's born is new, you know what I say is true, that I'll be loving you always. This is the greatest song maybe ever made on maybe the greatest album ever made. And you telling me that it's not better than Blonde by Frank Ocean? I mean, no disrespect to Prince or the Beatles. I'm not even sure. I mean, we can debate those, but I guarantee you, Frank Ocean would take a Heineken bottle, break it over a table, and cut you with it for saying that his album was better than Songs in the Key of Life. Frank Ocean does not think that. Frank Ocean didn't think that. He doesn't think that. Frank Ocean is somewhere right now irate that y'all did this to him and did this to Stevie in his name. I'm like, some of the stuff is just a prisoner of the recent. You telling me that Curtis Mayfield ain't got an album better than Amy Winehouse? Seriously, you telling me Curtis Mayfield ain't got an album better than Amy Winehouse? You telling me John Coltrane's Love Supreme ain't better than Back to Black? And I love Amy Winehouse. Kendrick Lamar's album is amazing, but you telling me there's no rap album better than Good Kid, Mad City? And by the way, I think Good Kid, Mad City is Kendrick's best album, and I think it's one of the greatest rap albums ever. But is it better than every Public Enemy album? Is it better than every NWA album? Is it better than every Jay-Z album? Is it better than Illmatic? Is it better than Doggy Style? Is it better than Enter the 36 Chambers? Is it better than Ready to Die? This list is the problem with the music world today. I ain't gonna go through no more of them. I will point out, shout out to Beyonce. Beyonce has 2 albums. She's the only woman to have 2 albums on this list. But when you look at this list, what you learn is how much in our society we are prisoners of now, the recency bias here. Because when you look at this list, you see a lot of people who probably shouldn't be on here. Or they're in strange places, like really Tyler, the Creator, Flower Boy is the 92nd greatest album ever. I'm struggling with that. Nina Simone, only number 88. Mary Blige, My Life. I can't imagine that not being further down that list if we're talking about greatest albums. Doggy Style, we talked about. Patti Smith Horse, these are great albums. Get Rich or Die Trying, amazing album. These are all amazing albums. I don't got no problem with them. But some of these things, this Norman fucking Rockwell album by Lana Del Rey is a masterpiece. Just not sure it's the 79th greatest album of all time, and so forth and so on. So this album list is a prisoner of a very specific problem we have in our society. Come on, Baduism. Badu album is legendary, but I guarantee you, if Baduism is on this list, all right. If you have Baduism on this list, fine. I love Erykah Badu, but if that's her only album on this list, you're going to have to explain to me why Mama's Gun ain't on there, because Mama's Gun is by far Erykah's greatest album, and I don't know anybody. Anyway, so there's a way here, I believe. Rihanna's anti 55? Really? That's a greater album than Badu's? That's a greater album than Voodoo by D'Angelo? That's a greatest album than Sade Love Deluxe and Tupac All Eyes on Me? It's greater than 3 Feet and Rising? It's greater than The Queen is Dead? Is Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses? Oh, I was about to say, I was about to lose my mind. Appetite for Destruction, Sweet Child of Mine. Woo! Come on, the Joshua Tree. The Joshua Tree is only number 49. Anyway, I said I wasn't gonna go through the whole list. And the fact Drake. I'm gonna cut my own face right now. Drake, Take Care. So I'm getting a note from my wife upstairs. You're really loud. Sorry, baby sleeping. I've never gotten that note before. You know why? Because these albums got me angry. Drake, Take Care. The fact that Drake, Take Care is in the same conversation as Exodus. The fact that they're in the same tier. Aquemini. Okay, I'm nonplussed. I know all the old heads in this room with me is sitting here like, really, when we all fall asleep, where do we go? Oh my God, Low End Theory, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin. Oh my God. I'm losing my mind here, y'all. I'm literally losing my mind. I'm about to jump off of this. Adele 21. You tell me is better than every Aretha Franklin album is better than Guns N' Roses, better than Pink Floyd, is better than U2 Joshua Tree, is better than Beyonce's album, it's better than... I think it's crazy that Drake has an album here and Lil Wayne's Carter 3 or Carter 2 ain't on here. This is a travesty. As Bill DeBlanc said, no Sam Cooke so far, no Bob Dylan. I mean, no James Taylor. No Rick James. I mean, no Nat Cole. You know what, y'all? I need a break. We're gonna take a break and come back. But just let me say, this list sucks monkey balls. That's my official position. And number 2, this is why you can't let the corporate nerds be in charge of our music or our culture, because this is what they do. I need a break. I need a drink. I need something. I gotta go. I'll see y'all back in a minute. We're gonna talk Diddy on the other side.
Right? You make her happy, so you'll be all right.
And happy wife normally is about happy life for me.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It ain't about her. It's about you.
So Van says that because Jewish people showed up for Black Americans during the Civil Rights era, he now feels compelled to stand with them now. Let me be clear.
What's the white liberal ideology I'm following?
I'm not saying you.
No, that's what you said. So I'm saying, which one?
No
one is free until we are all free. There's no room for any injustice.
Whew. I'm back, y'all. Welcome back to Night School. For the last 6 months, the world has been focused on a long series of allegations against rapper Diddy. It's been fascinating to watch sort of how, honestly, someone has had such a precipitous fall. How the culture's disposition toward him, the community's conversations about him, the rap industry stance about him has undergone so many radical and dramatic shifts. It's breathtaking to watch, and for lots of reasons. Diddy in November was accused by Cassie, his former partner, of various forms of harm, from sexual assault to human trafficking to emotional abuse, etc. And after that, there have been a series of lawsuits and a series of allegations. Well, Diddy has very consistently said that he ain't do none of them. He spoke out on his Instagram. He spoke out in other spaces to say, I am innocent and I will be cleared of all the charges. Then a video came out. The video showed Diddy brutally assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway. And then Diddy issued an apology a few days later. The video comes out Friday, Sunday, he's issuing an apology. Most of the world, when they saw that apology, which he posted on his Instagram page, I won't say most of the world, much of the world was unmoved. Most of the comments I heard were unbothered and unmoved by Diddy's response. They said, this is bullshit. This is not true. He's not sorry that he did it. He's sorry he got caught. There's a whole conversation around this. And then an unexpected person entered the chat. An unexpected person entered the chat. Suddenly, as we were talking about Diddy and we were talking about his innocence or guilt, a young woman entered the chat. She literally entered his IG conversation. She went on the IG post where he issued his apology, and she left a comment. The woman is the young sister you see on the right. This sister is the daughter of Shaka Khan, who is on the left. If you don't know Shaka Khan, then you got other problems. Shaka Khan is a legendary vocalist, legendary singer. We love her. We adore her. And if you saw her on Versus a while back, a few years ago, you also saw her daughter hit the stage and sing with her. Well, that daughter left a comment on Diddy's IG, which was shockingly left available for comments. She said, I'm glad this is happening to you. You got in my mother's face and publicly disrespected her, yelling and screaming like a lunatic when my little brother tried to get you out of my mother's face. Your security jumped my 19-year-old brother. These may be your dark days, but I'm singing and dancing watching your demise. Then she tags her mother, Shaka Khan, and says, isn't it great, Mom? Wow. I told y'all the other night that the Diddy commentary was never going to stop. I said it literally last night. I said, the Diddy thing ain't over. That there will be more Diddy commentaries. There will be more people with stories. There will be more allegations. And some of them are going to come from people who you're not going to believe. Whether you should or shouldn't is a different issue, but there are going to be people who are going to be credible. There are going to be people who aren't credible. Many of them are going to be strangers who you're going to constantly be wondering whether or not what they're saying is true. Then there's Shaka Khan. Now, Shaka didn't say it. Shaka didn't say it, but Shaka's daughter did, and she tagged her mom. And Shaka and her daughter, if you know Shaka Khan, I don't know Shaka Khan super well, but I know well enough to know that she and her daughter are tight. She adores that child. And she didn't post that without her mama knowing. She didn't post that without her mama giving the approval. So what you saw on this Instagram post by her daughter, her name is Indira, by the way, Indira Khan. What you saw was Shaka Khan's position on this. Now, again, I wasn't there. I can't tell you whether it happened or didn't happen. But after everything we've seen on that video, after everything we've heard from the bodyguards, after everything we've heard from other people in the industry, from everything we've heard from people who are strangers but have very credible cases, this feels more true than not, I'm more likely to give a benefit of the doubt to the accuser here than I'm going to give to Diddy. Why would I give the benefit of the doubt to Diddy at this stage? There's no reason to. So the question becomes, what does it mean? Shaka Khan's not suing. Shaka Khan's not asking for anything. That makes it even more credible. They're just saying, look, you did us dirty, consistent pattern of behavior, and we're happy to see you fall. You verbally abused Shaka Khan. That's the allegation. Again, I wasn't there. I don't know what's true and what's not true. But what I know for sure is the allegation that Diddy verbally abused Shaka Khan is like the second to last nail in the coffin. You got the stuff with Cassie, you got the stuff with the artists, you got the stuff, the allegations from the past, and now you got a revered elder. Because here's the thing, there's never been a point in Diddy's career where Shaka Khan wasn't an elder. I don't care if he yelled at her when he was the head of Uptown Records. Still, she was an elder and a treasured elder. So when you hear this, it just speaks to a deeper issue. I don't know if this is survivable. I don't know if this is overcomable. I just don't know. I just don't know. Anyway, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to mind my own business a little bit. But I had to let y'all know that story because hearing Shaka Khan say that, Shaka Khan does not look for trouble. Shaka Khan does not look for drama. Shaka Khan avoids it. So when I hear this kind of stuff, it just makes you scratch your head. Anyway, that's it for Night School tonight. I want to thank y'all for watching. As always, I appreciate y'all, man. Before we go, I do want to just shout out again Andrea Darby for becoming a new member. We appreciate you. Bob Vaughn, I appreciate you. Sorry for getting started a couple of minutes late, man. I got to shout you out, X's Sketch Comedy Show. We appreciate you. And your point about the UN chief calling for reparations, we're going to dig into that, and we got to talk more. Tonight's conversation about reparations is one of many. So let's get to it. Let's get after it, because it's very important that we cover reparations, that we talk about reparations, that we build on a conversation about reparations, because that's what we need to do. That's what we need to be. Shout out to Robin Walker Murphy, who gifted 5 channel memberships tonight. We are so grateful for you as always. Thank you for that. Hopefully y'all got the memberships, yo. Keep building with us. Keep growing with us. Karen D said, everybody list your top 5 albums. Yo, that's a good question. We got to have to do that. Maybe we'll office hours tonight. I'm going to do a little office hours tonight. Maybe y'all can drop some euros in here. But Karen D said her top 5 is Purple Rain, Back to Black, Songs in the Key of Life, Joshua Tree, and Sade. That ain't a bad top 5. I don't think Back to Black will be in my top 5. I just don't see me putting Back to Black above every other album in the history of the world. I don't love Prince the way y'all love Prince, but I love Prince. Prince is top 5 for me. He's just not top number 1 for me. Songs of the Kid Life will probably be in the top 3 for me of all time. Joshua Tree, I don't know if it's my top 5, but it's certainly my top 10. And Sade, I would probably say the same thing. Maybe not my top 10, maybe my top 15. But there's just levels to genius. And that Apple list is ass. What you just gave us right here is way better, Karen D, than what they gave us. Anyway, y'all, thank you for watching and thank you for supporting. Make sure you hit that like button. We always need you to hit the like button. The YouTube algorithms prioritize and give preference to mainstream corporate media. So when you hit the like button, it gives us a fighting chance. Don't take it for granted. Smash up them likes. Also, if you get the opportunity, hit the subscribe button. The subscribe button will allow you to get more access to what we're doing. It'll give you updates. And if you hit the little bell, you'll get up to the minute notifications when we put out new content. And I promise you, we always putting out new content. And of course, finally, hit the join button if you're so inclined. When you hit the join button, it allows you to become a monthly subscriber to the channel. For as low as $3.99, you can become a member of the channel. And becoming a member of the channel gives you access to exclusive content. It gives you access to exclusive information. It gives you access to early releases of things. We want you to be a member because you get so much awesomeness, but we also ask that you join and become a member of the channel because it allows us to strengthen our position here as an independent media platform. What I'm doing here on the channel is trying to build and grow an independent media platform. I'm trying to create space. I'm trying to do political education. I'm trying to challenge corporate media narratives. And to do that, I absolutely need your support. I don't have a corporate media partner. I don't have a billionaire or even a millionaire writing a check for me. I don't have any mainstream media attachments. I don't even have a paid sponsor or promotion attached to this program. This is purely me out of my pocket doing this every single night. And I'm doing it because I believe in it. I'm doing it because I believe in you. I'm doing it because I believe in us. So please, if you haven't joined the channel, I ask that you do, even if it's just a $3.99. I shouldn't say even. A $3.99 commitment every month is an amazing commitment. I'd be grateful for it. If you have a bronze membership at $3.99 and you want to move up to silver for $9.99, we would love that too. Anybody who wants to support the channel more, feel free to change your membership from bronze to silver or from silver to gold, and so on. And if you can't make a monthly commitment, please make a one-time commitment. Go up here right now to Cash App, to PayPal.me, to Venmo, to Zelle, and any of those platforms, and just drop something in. If you were to donate just $5, if everybody watching right now were to do $5, we would meet our weekly payroll. If you were to just drop $5, we would meet all of our weekly expenses for just $5. So please consider it. And if you can't do it, I understand. Everybody doesn't have money. But if you don't have the money, you can hit the like button. That's free. If you don't have money, hit the subscribe button. Spread the word. Share the content. I got to shout out my brother here, Jeremiah Muhammad, though, because he just dropped in something that was so wonderful. He dropped in a 1999 super sticker. Thank you so much for your generosity, my brother. Thank you so much for your generosity. You've been generous for months now. I appreciate you so much. Same for my sister here, Zakia Simpson, who just, she said, paying on my tuition. I appreciate that as well. I'm so grateful for you, my sister. You know, y'all just come through with the love, man. I hope y'all understand that I never take it for granted, that I never take it lightly. I hate asking for anything, and I've never in my career had to ask for anything because I work for corporate outlets. But now that I'm building this myself, for this to sustain itself and to grow so that we can have more content, more platforms, more hosts, more ideas, more debates, more deep dives, more education. For us to do that, I need your support. And so I'm grateful that all of you give your support. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be right back here, same time, same channel, for more Night School. Take care. Peace.